So it's upon all of us now, because when those in government, they hold microphones. They say, no, this is not borrowing. We have to do this. Now, that is the thing. Then we ask ourselves as Kenyans. Kenya currently is the third most paved economy in Africa. Our tarmac roads in Kenya are only third to South Africa and Nigeria, across Africa. We have more tarmac roads than any other economy other than those two. All those governments did that without an illegal loan. They never securitized. They did that, whether it was borrowing, they borrowed in the book, it's fine. We have stadiums, this is not the first one. It may be the most modern, fine. But the ones we have, we are the most modern that time. Therefore, we never, you know, the reason I am, mimi nasikia kuamuka niwapea history kama nimesimama. Because, you know, I am very passionate about these things. And you forgive me when I talk with a lot of passion. Now, you borrow 44.5 billion Kenya shillings. You say it's for a stadium. Kenya has built stadiums before. And it's fine. Because of time, any building today in Kenya is more modern than the building we built 20 years ago. Because even that one was the most modern that time. So that's besides the point that we have stadiums. But we never had to borrow illegal loans. Even, can you imagine, President Moi was able to build a stadium without an illegal loan. But now, we cannot build one without an illegal loan. And we come to justify. Kenya is the third most paved economy in Africa. We built all these roads you have seen without securitizing and without an illegal loan. Now we are being told, if you don't do this, there's no roads. That is basically admitting, I'm not being able to do what the other governments did, so I have to devise my own illegal way of doing it. That is why securitization is not just robbing us of the current present value of the money, but also the future value of the money. However, as we securitize everything here, it doesn't mean we are stopping to borrow 4 billion a day. This other book is ongoing, but this also one is ongoing. So that is the state of the affairs. And many times, I wish the people in government can come to such a meeting, because I would volunteer to come, so that they explain to us on 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4. How is this more prudent than what all the other governments did?
Okay, thank you. My second last question, so that then we get back and then we'll see, is on another topic which you are very passionate about, and also for purposes of education. You've been very passionate about the stock markets, and talking to people about why we need to now move away from maguta, and we now go into serious investment. However, the NSC today, as it is, has seen some behavior that could be scary to a potential investor. Remember last year, around November, we saw a bullish market to the extent to which companies like Uchumi registered an increase of up to 119%. And from an analytics perspective, you don't really understand why a company like, say, Uchumi would register an increase of up to 119. And so many other companies did that. So what would you say about the state of manipulation of our NSC? Are there circumstances? And during the time, if you look at it, in fact, Safaricom was one of the very few companies in the NSC that did not register a positive gain. So is there a possibility that our NSC is being manipulated? And if so, as investors or potential investors, how are we protected in the market? And for you, as somebody who is also within the market, what would you say of that?
You allow me to rise, because I see there are some brothers of mine about hatuonani vizuri. I've been in the stock market in Kenya since I was in first year in campus. And it is one of the institutions that I would be the last person to besmirch, because I believe it plays a very critical role. Let me start by the macro side of it. The economies we seek to be like, the US, UK, South Korea, even that one you've mentioned, have one critical and very important element, that all these economies grew on the back of other people's money. Other people's money comes in many ways. One is FDI, foreign direct investment. When foreign direct investment comes, it is money that does not belong to us, that is coming to build us. It's a very good thing. There is, in that segment, under it, there is something called private equity fund. People who come, they look in to such a hotel, they realize it's in a prime place, but the owner may be short of capital. So they come and give in money, either in terms of debt or equity. They are given shares or they lend. It's called a private credit market. There is also another thing called venture capital. Venture capital is very well known, let's say in places like Silicon Valley, where all these companies we know, there would still be ideas in somebody's head, were it not for venture capital money that came to jumpstart the idea to become a commercial enterprise. So something called capital flow is one of the bases on how economies grow. I have not seen an economy that grows without that. The US stock market is double the GDP of the US. Can you imagine that? The US stock market is double the GDP of the US. So our GDP Kenya, let's say, is 20 trillion Kenya shillings. That our market would be like 40 trillion Kenya shillings. It's mind-boggling by itself. So that is the reason why markets must always be sacrosanct in terms of people must not adulterate the confidence of the market. Around this Safaricom, because I see where you are going with the question, our stock market has been, the English word I say, has been bearish, has been bullish, but also very bearish. This is what I mean. We have been at the bottom for some years, or for some time. So the market went up a little bit. But the valuations in the NSC are still grossly undervalued. Grossly. Yani, shares zinauzwa kama bure, if you compare with any other asset class. So, we have a situation where we have companies that have gone up by multiples, but we have one which has a transaction in the market called Safaricom that has barely been bullish. And I wrote it in my memoranda in Parliament that in a mature market, if it was in the US, the SEC would have investigated the trade of Safaricom trade, because there is a high likelihood that Safaricom share price was suppressed in the period of the transaction. It is glaring. I mean, anyone who buys shares, you can tell that why did it not be, when the other shares were going up by 80%, 100%, why was it sluggish, yet it is a company that recorded a 52% rise in half-year profit? How? So, to that extent, I just want to believe that anyone doing that would be doing it would be very disadvantageous to our economy. Second thing, I want to tell you this because, as you know me, I try as much as possible. For credibility's sake, the things you hear me speak, even if you call me on top of a mountain, I'll come with it, because I first of all investigate to know that whatever I'm saying, I can defend it. This is the second thing about our NSC. We have seen 3 companies being taken over. Listed companies. Some associated with government, where NSSF had a stake. Where the government through the treasury had a stake. Somebody comes and buys. They first buy NSSF, then they go to the treasury, they buy their stake. And we are told these are regional investors. But I also want to tell you, these are not regional investors. These are Kenyans. And I can defend that statement anywhere. Recently, we had another listed company being taken over that deals with media. It is also listed. You know, we are talking about the market. When you list a company and you are doing that kind of a transaction, the CMA ought to have known that you cannot treat one shareholder separately from the others. Let me tell you what it means that way. NCB is a private company, NCBA. The stock market has no knowledge of whether you are a public or you are private. When you are listed, you become a PLC, publicly listed company. So we have NCBA, which is a PLC. When they do a transaction with Nedbank of South Africa, even a person with one share is given the same conditions. After the top shareholders negotiated with Nedbank, these other guys came, but they are coming into the market that even a person with 10 shares, they are given an opportunity either to sell to Nedbank, to convert their share into a Nedbank share and get a JSE listed company, or get a cash. Because one of the rules of CMA is that when you are an anchor shareholder means if I start a company, there are so many people who would buy into those shares because they know the anchor shareholder. Is that so? Now, when I exit without giving you signals, isn't that conning you? So now we have NCBA following the book. We now have a media house because the person setting the rules is the one buying. They come and transact with the anchor shareholder with zero reference to that young person, to that old man who bought the share because of the confidence they had with Aga Khan. So unawacha kwa mata. Yet part of the reason they bought was because of the anchor shareholder. So that is one thing, some of the things that are so glaring. Take for example, East African Portland Cement is listed, even now. So a company is listed, a private person has 62%, and the National Treasury is giving a moratorium of close to 2 billion shillings of public money to a private company. That even somebody has the audacity to sign a letter in the National Treasury giving a moratorium of over 2 billion shillings owed to the Kenyan people by a private company, and giving a moratorium of close to 2 billion shillings. That is the thin line where it is not very tidy. Lastly, you invited me for Rotary Club the time we were in Rogai. And some of you asked me, do we buy KPC shares? And I called some of you. We did the math. If you took your phone now, this is what happened to Kenya Pipeline. Let me just tell you. And I've been waiting for anyone to challenge this statement. There is none because they know what I'm saying is true. And I'm not just dumping. I'm just trying to say, I wish these things can be done right. Kenya Pipeline listed, the day when the IPO was to be closed, the subscription rate was below 3.5%. If anyone in the National Treasury has a different figure, come and say it. Now, they extended by, you remember they extended by I think 3 or 4 days. That extension, a phone was made to President Museveni. My brother, oh my, why are you not doing this, man? Mapo ni baya hapa. Kwa sababu Museveni ni mkongwe na anaelewa maneno ya, is experienced. He knew, you guys in your desperation, you will know Mzee ni mzee. He said, fine, we may think about it. What are you giving us? Oh, we can offer you, it's 9 shillings. You buy most of our oil. It passes through this pipeline, fine. Museveni said, I'm sending my petroleum minister there. And they came. I don't know whether it was petroleum or transport minister. The lady came. please, Mzee, one is enough. He said, okay, I have some other business to do. They said, okay, two, okay, chukua. Mzee said, now, when you are hiring any CEO, you bring the file to my office in Entebbe. I am the one to be giving veto power over the CEO of Kenya Pipeline. Oh, you know, these Kenyans will atatuletea shida wakiona hii mzee, please, we can do this later. But mzee, because he knows the duplicity that goes around, and he knew if I do this now, they'll change goalposts. He said, okay, look for somebody else to invest. They had to cede into Museveni's conditions. So Museveni will have 2 directors in KPC, but number 3, however qualified you are, Museveni is going to veto whether you are going to be KPC CEO. Now, that's not even the point. Now, even after Ipesa Museveni, the thing was still below 50% subscribed. So these companies were called. In Tuesday evening, when the IPO was being closed, that Tuesday evening, the CEO of NSSF, Your Money, was called to invest your money in Kenya Pipeline. And so that you see whether this information is true. You know, the beauty about listing is disclosures. That tomorrow, if you ask the registrar of Kenya Pipeline, as a Kenyan, to give you the top 10 shareholders, they should give you. Because listed companies operate by rules. So the CEO of NSSF was called. He invested workers' resources in KPC. The CEO of Superannuation Fund was actually on his way to Mombasa. Alirudia airport kwenda kusaini makaratasi. Superannuation Fund ni hii ya civil servants, pesa yenu ya retirement. The Unclaimed Assets Authority was called. The interest that had been accrued, which is part of the assets of the unclaimed assets, they were forced to invest in the Kenya Pipeline. Kenya Reinsurance, Kenya Re, were forced to invest part of their retained earnings, 4 to 5 billion, they were forced to invest. All these companies, by the time the IPO was closing, none had held a board meeting to ratify those investments, but they were pushed to commit and sign application forms. That is how KPC CEO, you saw a bell being rang, and after ringing, they say it was successful because the government bought itself. Now, this is the critical point. Listen to me carefully, because I told you, I only say things that I can verify. After listing at 9 bob, these are the figures. Kenya Pipeline has 18.2 billion shares that are, all the shares, the issued shares. Their earning per share is 40 cents. Their PE ratio is 22 periods. Nyi mnajua PE ratio. If you build a flat, and let's say buying, if you buy a flat at 10 million, and this flat gives you rent, net rent of $1 million per year, how many years will it take you to recover your money? Tufanye hii hesabu pole pole. If you bought a flat at 20 million shillings, 20, yeah? I've changed now to compare the two. And it gives you rent of $1 million shillings. What is the PE? 20. Between the A and B, which would you buy? The flat, which flat would you buy? The A or the B? The one that is taking rest period to recover your money, or the one that is taking longer period? Listen to this, how your money, because there was no IPO, it was a hoax. Now listen to how your money as a pensioner was invested. Kenya Pipeline has a PE ratio of 22 years. 22 years. Kenyan has a PE ratio of 6. Total Energies has a PE ratio of around 6. All our local banks, KCB, Equity, has PE ratios of below 5. All of them. All the local banks. Kenya Power has a PE ratio of below 1.5 years. 1 year, 5 years. So of all those, which of all those I've mentioned from KPC, with your own money, hard-earned money, Which company would you invest in? Which one can't you invest in? So a person was made to invest your money where you can't invest and where them can't invest. This is the thing, and I want to face NSE today as I am here. After listing at 9 shillings, they were again forced, the same buyers, to do something called share propping. Share propping is, they were embarrassed that a bell will be rung on the floor of the NSE and the share would collapse. So they were told, NSE, you know, I'm facing the camera for them to see. They were told to do what is called share propping. Share propping happens this way. When you are buying shares, it is like an auction. The buyers are on this side, the sellers are on this side. They were told to give an artificial demand of the share at 9 shillings. So that the share does not even go for 8.9 for the next 2 weeks. So that after Kenyans forget and they exit their demand, the share can go to wherever it wants. Ask yourself this, dear Kenyans. The share was listed at 9. It is now trading at 9.08. The person selling is already in a loss because if you net in commission of a share is 2%. So if you put in commission, those selling KPC shares are selling at a loss. Now, these companies that were called NSSF, Superannuation Fund, Unclaimed Assets, Kenyari and the rest, they were told, please prop up the share for some period of time. Don't allow it to go below 9. Wakenya wakisahau kulikuwa na listing, nyinyi endeleni na kazi yenu, the share can go to its price. And I can tell you through the math we have done here with you. A share with a P ratio of 22, even if it doubles its profit next financial year, it is still the most expensive share in the NSE. Wacha ninyamazie hapo.
I think with this conversation, you can actually really get a headache. Bwana Ndindi Nyoro, I will pose this to you and say, you are known for certain traits, you know, grassroots mobilization, youth empowerment messages, financial literacy messages. Slightly over 2 years ago, the president was a good friend of yours. I don't know if you're still friends. The former deputy president was your good friend. You helped go around this country and talk to us and enlighten us. And you really did well in that advocacy, yeah? And slightly under 2 years into it, the narrative has changed. My question is, why now?
That's a very good question. I think the person to ask are the ones who deviated from what we told Kenyans. Me, I'm still where and what we sold to Kenyans. That we needed to be people who serve the people of Kenya without excessive greed. We were to serve the people of Kenya in a manner that we do not put in excessive patronage, clientelism, and reciprocal altruism into the economy. That we were to liberalize our economy. That anyone can come in and set up a cement company. Anyone can come in and do any kind of business. So I'm still there. So you need to ask those others who deviated. We also told the people of Kenya that when the economy improves in the macro sense, it improves for all of us in the pocket. I still hold that even today. That when the economy improves, it does not just improve in terms of GDP figures. It should be felt by the Kenyan people. That is what we sold. Do you have money in your pockets? So it's upon you now to decide and call the other people. You see who deviated. The other thing is that we told the people of Kenya that education, for example, will be a primary social investment arena for us. That even in terms of the burden to the parent, we will do whatever it takes to make it less bearable or more bearable. We actually said that you'd make basic education free. Me, I have tried. So ask those others.
Thank you very much. I think now we are going to begin taking questions from the floor. So when we will start the other side, there is an online team which I'll also read, but we can start with the team here. Hey, mko wengi. So let's make the questions short, okay? We want to try so that as many people as possible.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Honorable Ndindi, again, on my behalf, I just want to say thank you for your time and your talk. Also, I'd also like to thank you for enlightening Kenyans, because of late you become economist number one. However, I've got two questions. I'll try to be quick. Yesterday, there was an article where some young man was passing by Parliament building, and he saw these askaris at the gate. And this young man got puzzled. Went to the askaris and went, if the media was not lying to us, the guy asked the askaris, "Munachunga nini? Wezi wako huko ndani?" Yep. No, the young boy, the young man, he told the askaris at Parliament gate, you know, he was asking them, "Munachunga nini?" As far as he was concerned, wezi wako huko ndani. Now, here's my point. You've alluded to why Kenyans are going to Bunge la Mwananchi, and you've also alluded to the fact that not the executive, but rather it's a one-man show. From where I stand, that one man, despite his shenanigans and everything that he's doing, personally, I think we should give him credit. Why? The purpose of power is to, have control. And if he's controlling both sides of the house, credit to him. Our problem ni hao wezi wako hapo ndani, because they've let him do that. Now, you, and you've admitted it severally, were one of those people who sold us this bottom-up hustler narrative. I've heard you say you're still there, the rest deviated. I don't know how true that is, because we, and I'll include myself in there, we as a Kenyan community, we have this high tendency of, it's only good if I'm in there. Suddenly, if I'm out of there, our eyes are opened. Now, Mheshimiwa, I don't know whether or when your Damascus moment happened. Yeah. But thank God it happened, because you become economist number one. I have a hypothesis where I think before we go to 2027 or to the next election, having this current experience, we ask, how much does everyone who is running need? Because in my view, if we knew how much this guy needed, we just give him, and then we concentrate on building the country. I'm serious. This is why I say that. We started by singing the national anthem. And our last line was, plenty be found within our... You've mentioned figures that my little accountant mind cannot fathom, Zeros will peter the calculator. So do you think it's worthwhile? Next time, first we ask all these thieves, how much do you feel you need? Then when we are going into it, we resign to the fact, for you, it is only 2B. This other guy, 10B. And then maybe the remainder, we can focus on development. Thank you.
Good evening, Mheshimiwa and everybody else. My name is Fred Msindi. Now, I've been observing what the successive governments have been doing from the time of President Moi. Kibaki did well the first 10 years, but then he left us with a very big burden of 47 counties, 47 women reps, 47 senators. That has been a very big burden to Uhuru and now Ruto, because these people, the counties gobble up 35% of what the national government collects. So how, from where you sit, how are you going to correct this situation? Because I see these governors, most of them spend the time in Nairobi. They only go to the rural areas where they come from on weekends for funerals. So, and the wastage that I see, governors chase cars and all that, that's why you can see the successive governments from Kibaki have been struggling. What do you have to say on this? Thank you.
We'll pick one more from this side. Lady, please, and then you can respond and we pick other three.
Good evening. Yeah, my name is Rose Gashini. I am happy to listen to Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro. I've been following him in the investments. Now, we are happy to hear about the stock exchange of KPLC, and some of us are investors in real estate, plots, as you have been calling them, building apartments, and hospitality industry. Now we thought, from what we are learning from you, that is the high time we start investing in stock exchange. Now, when we hear the issue of KPLC, we get shaken, and we have also invested in other stock exchange that are related to the government, like the KPLC, Kenyan, Safaricom. So my question is there a red flag in investing in shares that are related with the government, or should we then invest more in maybe in the bank, like Equity Bank, NCBA, and other areas that are not related with the government? The other question is there a governance that can check to see that those who have invested, they are protected? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you can take those three. I can see the next round, Gen Z, Mkomoto, Tulieni, nitawapatia chance.
My brother, please remind me your name. Masinga. Masila. Thank you very much, Masila. One was about Askari and outside there in Parliament. And I'm not trying to kutetea colleagues. Those people who have interacted with government, you can bear me witness. There is a person somewhere, a middle-level manager somewhere, who makes more money than 50 MPs combined. And you just do your investigation. I also may not be the right person to say anything wrong about my colleagues, because in every situation, even in this hall, we are diverse. So, I mean, kila mtu abebe responsibility yake. However, you also talked about taking responsibility, that I went around the country last elections, and there is what we said, and the fact that we were also serving. And then you said, after serving, why not talk that time? And because I said this is not an academic exercise, we are saying it to talk the way it is. You are here serving as the president of Rotary Club. Let's say you have a committee of 10. So what happens is that you raise money as this, either Kitegera or Athi River. You raise money to build a classroom somewhere, and you entrust that money to a committee of 10. Now, the person, one of the person there in the committee of 10, maybe two of them say, this money can actually feed 2 classes. Why can't we do it? And 8 say, I think it is just enough for one. Let's just squeeze in it one. The rest, let's talk. Now, part of the two, I think the way and the decorum is first of all to convince the 10 or bring the two, other than calling a baraza to say, you know, this committee of 10, they want to do this and that. That's what I think. Because you are bound by collective responsibility at that level, which for decency's sake, you just have to be within the confines of the team. And you argue your cases within. And I've given you one snippet. I may not give you many secrets, but I can tell you just that one thing I remember very clearly about confirmation of 46,000 JSS. So I kept wondering. Now Kenya is our country. Now you are there with the limited power, whatever it is, even if the budget is 4.something trillion, maybe Parliament will have a 1% leeway to change things. If that 1%, there is something you can do and help the country, and you can only help it while you are still there, I think it would be cowardly for you not to do it when you can do it and you have the ability to do it. So that's the reason. And as I said before, you can look at the clips in Parliament. For example, I am very confident and very forthright about debt. The language about debt is the same I had during Uhuru Kenyatta's time when I was serving as chairman of budget, and even now, it is the same thing. Because white remains white. It doesn't matter from which side of the sun you are looking at the white. So that has been the case, and being a public servant, I am open for anyone to tell me, no, here you said this. But I know, at least on that area, consistency is there. Let me go to Fred. Oh, how much is enough? You tell me. I think it depends with the person. Yeah, and I'm being very honest. There are people who may be enough with something. There are people who never be. No enough will be enough. So, it's upon us Kenyans now to look, and I know God has blessed us in a way that we can see things clearly. So, I mean, Fred talks about how successive governments have done, and you zeroed in to 47 counties. And we have used that fallacy for a long time. You know, leaders, when especially they are on TV, they may select what is convenient for the discussion. So we keep saying, you know, Kibaki did so well because there were no 47 counties, and there were no women reps, there were no senators. The entire budget of Parliament is 1% of our entire national budget. 1%. Around 1%. And when it is around 1% or approximately 1%, it's not from zero as a base. There was still Parliament then. So the additional, in terms of percentage, is negligible. That's the truth. Counties. We talk about counties and governors. Remove now governor and county assemblies. That's nothing. Let's zoom into one county so that we see. Come to Nairobi. So we keep saying, oh, there are 47 other governments for the government to support. But what is the government supporting? When money goes to Nairobi City County, it is going to Mama Lucy. Mama Lucy was still there during President Kibaki's time. Only that it was being funded directly from the ministry. When we talk about agriculture in Murang'a, there was still money coming from the Ministry of Agriculture going to Kakamega and the rest. So these functions were still there. So this fallacy we keep on bombarding to the people of Kenya about 47 counties. They were still there. In fact, it was worse, my brother. Take any county you have. There used to be something called local government ministry. It was the largest in Kenya. Ugepewa waziri wa finance, the second highest, used to be local government minister. So there were still these structures. City Hall haijakuja wakati wa devolution. City Hall used to be there. And it was still being funded by the local government ministry beyond the money they collect. In fact, it was worse. In Murang'a, there was municipal council, but there was also county councils. So in rural areas, there used to be local councils, which is like another MCA on top of another MCA. In fact, lastly, we used to have more councillors than MCAs. Good Kenyans. So where we have done well, let's admit, but let's not hide under some fallacies that we sell to Kenyan people. Did we have ECDs before devolution? Were they being paid? By who? By municipal what? Was municipal council a private entity? So hii mambo tunaambiwa there was a 47, it is actually should be the other way around. We should be telling the people of Kenya, we are growing faster because of the 47 county governments, not despite of. This should be the other way around. We consolidated them further, they became less. We had oversight now, which is proper. We had structures of running our devolved units. By that time, it was fragmented. Anyway, let me go to the last one. Yeah, one makofi hapa hata mpigi makofi. Let's go to Ruth. Thank you very much for that and also for the compliment. The issue of NSC. No, I am far from saying about investing in where government has stakes. There are some companies that are run professionally. In fact, I also invest in those government areas that government has stakes. Because for one reason or the other, the markets has undervalued them. For a reason I don't know which one. If you pick an insurance company owned by government, like Kenya Re, and you pick CIC, you realize the government one, the market places a lot of discount on it. Because the market maybe thinks the government may intervene, which may not be good. So I invest in them because I think they are undervalued. And in all honesty, because we shouldn't politicize the things that are working on the things that are good, I just wish the people in power would delete phone numbers from their phone of the CEO of NNSSF, of Kenya Power, of Kenyan, of Kenya Re, of any government, of any listed company that the government has a stake. And I'm using public information because I don't want it to be sensational. We had the other day meeting in the big office, and I saw there people saying, KCB, you know, I had raised an issue myself that KCB was actually forced to invest in Talanta Board. Talanta Board was also shunned by just the same way like KPC. You know, nowadays, when you manage things well, what I like about Kenyans can see beyond duplicity. So when you do things with a clean heart, people see essence in it. But when you start layering it with some duplicity, Kenyans can also see through. Talanta Board, the private sector shandy. There is no local bank which is private that bought it. So again, they called NSSF, Superannuation Fund, and KCB. Those are the biggest investors of Talanta Board. Because the other banks were asking, what security do we have? If another government comes and abolishes sports fund, our money evaporates. It becomes NPL straight away. So the other private banks asked, but Kenya Commercial Bank walked in there. G2G. So I heard some people in their office, KCB has done very well. People should stop talking about it. They have even made a profit of 68 billion shillings. That is fine. But before all those G2Gs and before all those others, Talanta Board, KCB was the most profitable bank in Kenya. Currently, Equity is now the most profitable bank in Kenya. It is not doing G2G. They never bought Talanta Board. So what I'm trying to say is, I wish the government can realize that in KCB they only have 19% stake. That there is another 81% shareholding of people who are apolitical when they are investing. So that they let the companies make their own independent decisions. So I hope I've answered that question holistically. I believe Kenyan, Kenya Power,
even that KCB, fundamentally, I believe they are well-run companies, and I have nothing against them. The only thing I have against is the leaders who are calling them to direct them, and especially those who are trying to prop Kenya pipeline shares because they are propping it, and I have evidence. So let the market do its own market realization. Wewe ukilist kampuni eda zako, the market knows how to value companies. Don't bother propping it up, and don't bother kuisikiria, and don't bother exaggerating. The market will value it appropriately.
Haya, time ya majenzi. So let's hope that you will not repeat questions, and let's hope that you will have questions very short. So I've spotted about 6 or 7 people, and I'm going to give all a chance, but you'll be very quick. Start with your name.
Okay. Good evening. Okay, my name is Hilary Oma. I go by Prince Media, mini social media manager. I've been following all your videos, like all of them on YouTube. So my question is this. Coming 2027, kutakuwa na election. Now we don't know because as you said earlier, when people are coming to the election, coalitions zinakujanga zinafanyika huko mbele. Alafu unapata maybe Ruto amechukua mtu mwingine, maybe wewe ukataka kuwa president, ukafanya coalition. That's why when you were on NTV ulisema this is not the right time, wacha tupatie time iende. So swali yangu ni hii. Right now we are in a country of crisis. According to you, you specifically say that our economy is doing bad, not because of what tunaona like how the Kenyan shilling is compared to the dollar, but because the dollar ilianguka chini. That's why Kenya tunaona tukupoa, like dollar inaenda fiti na Kenya, but reality is Kenya inaanguka. So swali yangu ni hii. Come 2027, let's say by good luck or bad luck, whatever Kenya mtamua, Ruto is the president. Let's say by 2027, Ruto is the president. Sindo? Haya, when Ruto is the president of Kenya, kuna possibility that our economy, kuna possibility inaweza crash kama ya Ghana. So, swali yangu ni hii. What happens when the economy crashes? Like for instance Ghana, when we come to stock exchange, when it comes to money in our banks, what will happen as we prepare just in case iharibike huko mbele? Thank you.
Make it short, please. Very short.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for the enlightenment. My name is Kiplimo Yator. I'm the current president-elect of the Rotary Club of Athi River. Quick questions. How can counties and constituencies better support SMEs to scale? That's the first one. The second one, what has been your biggest lesson in leadership while navigating Kenyan's economic challenges? The third one, what mistakes do young leaders commonly make when entering politics or public service? And at what point should a young person step into leadership instead of waiting for their turn?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Naomi Wanjala. Thank you, Mheshimiwa, for this insightful session. And you've really fought for the young people in this country, and we appreciate that. So my question is, suppose you are a young professional in this country, starting from scratch, what would you do different to build influence and financial stability faster? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stuart Njagi from the Rotary Club of Athi River. I hope everyone in this room is a registered voter. On to my question. Our club is very focused on education, basic literacy and education. Most of our projects going there, where we even got 5 of our members serving in BOM members of several schools around this location. So my question is, how do we ensure proper optimization of the resources that we have to ensure that we can be able to replicate Kiharu Masomo Bora into Athi River Mavoko Masomo Bora? Thank you.
So, good evening. My name is Moses Kanyago, and I'm a young person. I want to speak on behalf of very many young people in this nation. And I'm a young person. I'm 21 years old, and I'm delighted to be here. And there was a time we met with our MC.
Go to the question.
So my question is about unemployment.
Yes.
And when we met with Mheshimiwa, so many people have asked me about jobs. Ukipata tunataka kutoka sasa block, umepatana na unajuana na Mheshimiwa. So one thing that I would like to ask Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro is about unemployment. There was a time the president was asked about unemployment, and he said that even before he became the president, their youth were still unemployed. So what I would like to ask Mheshimiwa is, what are we supposed to do as a nation and as Kenyans so that we can be able to support the young generation, and in terms of not just myself thinking of how to improve myself, how the society is going to help the young people to get out of this crisis of unemployment. Thank you. And by the way, I have a present for you, Mheshimiwa. After this, I think we should appreciate Mheshimiwa. Nimemletea kitu hapa.
So we take the last three. Last three.
Yes. Good evening.
We'll have a gifting session, so let's keep calm.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Onsongo Paul. Thank you so much, Muhesh, for Onsongo Paul. So I'm thankful for the impact that you've created for the young people. My questions are two. Question number one. Through your influence, some of us, we joined stock market. And next year is electioneering year. So my question is this. You've been in this industry for some time, and you know the cycles that happen. What can you advise us, the people who have invested in stocks? What are we going to do? We are heading to the electioneering year. Are we going to withdraw, or we maintain, and so on? Number two, one thing that we are sure, you're not in the government. But one thing we are also not sure, we don't know where you are. We don't know if you're team Sifuna, we don't know if you're team opposition. So please, can you give us direction? Because also timing is very important. Thank you so much.
Okay, good evening. My name is Mutuma Edwin, Rotaract Club of Kirinyaga. No, Kitengela. Sorry, I was in Kirinyaga also. My question is this, Mheshimiwa. I want to power and value for money. Chinua Achebe in long says the African has been corrupt through and through. And in power, we've seen wealthy people, because of the proximity they have to power, they are very wealthy, not because of something that they manufacture or, yeah. So my question is this. We as middle class, because majority are middle class, we are taxed more, or we pay more taxes than the others, our peers, even in other jurisdictions. So, and in case of a sickness, we are one sickness away from poverty. What therefore is it a citizenry problem, or is it a power problem? Because the faces that we are seeing right now are the faces that we will see even in 2027. The citizenry problem in this way, these are the same people who wanted to kick Moi Kibaki out of power in 2007. Yet it did work. So how can we bridge that gap? And yes, thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wilson Wasonga. And thank you, Bwana Mheshimiwa, Bwana Ndindi Nyoro, for gracing this occasion. As you can see, I'm a senior citizen. I just turned 60 3 days ago. So you might as well sing happy birthday to me. But now I want to ask a question on behalf of my children. I've been following you, and I see a lot of hope. I see a lot of future in this country when young people like you, what you articulate, and the hope that you give to this nation. So my question is just direct. When are you gunning for the presidency?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kanyotu Munene, and I'm happy to be here. My question is, can currently we are experiencing a war internationally, Iran, America, Israel. So as Kenya, are we ready for the aftershocks? And another question is, what are the opportunities therein? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We let Mheshimiwa take those questions, and then we will do the final round as I read the ones from online. So, Ivo.
Hello. Before Mheshimiwa, I'm Derek, and sorry for the interruption, but it's paining a lot. We've asked some questions zenye tumejiachilia. Athi River and Kitengela came out from industries. True or false? I've stayed in Kitengela tangu my parents came, and there's this one question that I want tujiulize sisi wote. We are running to stocks, we are running to do about privatization and everything, but there's one key question we are forgetting. Tomorrow, what will you eat? Because our industries are falling, our farming sectors are falling. What should we do as young citizens so that this problem cannot come to the Gen Alphas and even for the people coming after? Please.
You allow me to be precise so that we don't take so much time.
But we are here.
This Athi River and Kitengela, you are very exciting people. I think you should make me mnafaa munisogeni kwa mmoja wenu. Hirari, thank you very much. Stock market, yes, I'm a proponent of the stock market. And he asked about then next year, what do we do now? Because next year, you know, in Kenya, it becomes so major when you have elections. The cycles have been, first of all, the reason I'm a proponent of the stock market, as I said before, as a platform of capital flow. There is no economy that grows devoid of a very robust platform of capital flow. And stock market plays that role. Secondly, it pulls money together. Supposedly, you know, stock market is not supposed to be where we come to speculate. It is supposed to be where we go to invest in companies. So if that functions properly, it really helps in growth of companies. Kitambo, when companies used to list, in our own NSC here, they were not listing to raise money. They were not listing to sell stakes. They were listing to raise money. So you would have a company valued at 2 billion shillings. So you list 25% of the shares and you gain that money in terms of a revenue to again grow and become bigger. So next year, ukiangalia cycles za NSC, there is no defined path yet for elections. There are times when we have elections and the stock market is booming. There are some places, there are some cycles we have elections and the stock market is not doing so well. Always have this, my brother. And that I have seen that as very helpful to me as I invest in the NSC. I actually don't bother the price of the share. I bother the value of what I am buying. So when I do my math, and let's say I realize, hey, Equity Bank, at the current valuation, is 290 billion shillings, and they made a profit of 75 billion. So I realize the P/E ratio of that company is around 4, actually below 4. Even if they pay me some retro dividend of 5.75 as they did, I reason around it. Where else can I put money where the company is growing at 55%, and even the money they never paid me in dividend, they retained it for me, maybe to expand in Ethiopia or elsewhere. So when you have that mentality, I actually don't care whether, if I buy the share at 77, whether it goes to 50. I usually don't bother, because I was not buying for the share price. I was buying for the value. And even if it falls, the markets always have a way of appreciating value in the long run. If I do the math and realize there is a company with a P/E ratio of 22, it's called Kenya Pipeline. Even if you tell me what story, I will not be moved. I'll go to where in my calculations I see value. I would rather be wrong, having been grounded in fundamentals, than being right out of studying on quicksands. The second thing is the fifth one, Kiplimo. You ask many questions, and I'll be as precise as that. How can counties and constituencies help SMEs? Maybe by prioritizing them when it comes to procurement. The government remains the #1 buyer in a consolidated manner. Government as one entity is the #1 customer in Kenya. So it could be that. Fortunately or unfortunately, there are also some rules to follow. So within those rules, helping would be in that sphere. But also, in terms of capacity development, those people who have businesses, the devolved sectors like constituencies and counties, to also see how they can capacity build them. Secondly, young people, economic challenges of Kenya and how to handle them. Allow me to skip that. I answered it lastly on the manufacturing, the question that was asked about manufacturing, on how young people, especially, let me answer it in terms of going into leadership, the challenges they face. The #1 is obvious, that our electoral system is very heavy in terms of resources. So yes, we get outliers where, yes, we have examples of somebody who did what they needed to do within the means they had. But the reason we talk about them is because they are outliers. So on the general sphere, that is the biggest challenge. That there are so many people who would be leaders, but they are limited by the means to become a leader. And I think I have also answered the last one in that. Okay, there are many others, my brother. Leaders, especially young people, I would challenge them. When you talk about mentorship, don't read books only. Go to the ground. Find where your mentor, even if they don't know you, you hear they are going for a function somewhere, it's not very far from where you live. Just join into that and be part of the crowd. Watch how things are done. Within time, you know them. Within the other time, you are chatting with them. They are mentoring you directly. Even us, that's how God helped us to know people and also tukakanyaga shoulders zao. So like that man, young man there, he's from Murang'a University. Now this is the second time I'm noticing him. I had been invited by East Park at Safari Park. He came and he comes with a suit and tie. Hebu simama. He's actually not from the constituency I represent, but he's learning in the university within the constituency, Murang'a University. So you can already tell, the next thing he'll be in my office. The next time he'll tell me, hey, unaenda baraza wapi ya kuje. The next time uko kwa CDF nimempea karolo ya kusoma soma. The next thing he's addressing you as MP for their place. Naomi Wajala, thank you very much for the compliment. Young professions, I'll address you as a lady. I'll not even bother with my brothers here. Wow, watajisot. I was invited by East Park ladies in Mombasa last week, but one. There is one thing I want to bring forth to the ladies who are here. Last time, as you all know, I was involved in campaigns. So even after winning, filling some positions here and there, we were involved. One thing that was very stuck that time, you need women who are PSs, women who are CSs. This may not sound real. So we are there, you have won. So nani atapewa hii kiti? You look around, there are no people. Because when you are here, seated as my sister, you see a political gathering, in your mind you think, these guys are surrounded by people. Hii camp imejaa. Hata nikienda, no one will notice me. There are usually no volunteers in politics. There are usually very few. And I can challenge any lady who is here. Volunteer, ukiona governor fulani anaweza win, ebu hata usiache kazi yako, volunteer tu hapo kidogo kidogo as a professional. You can guarantee you will come back here in 2028 as a CEC. There is a lady I met for the first time after we had won. So we met, we wanted to check PSs who can come from this area and the other. So after asking her questions, currently she's a minister, I will not disclose her. And I never knew her. You can imagine, I never knew her when we were campaigning. Somebody brought her, oh, kuna mtu alikuwa sijui nini, muangalieni. So we sat down with him and the then deputy president and then another leader there. Tukamuuliza maswali, huyu anaweza kuwa PS because the CV was very good. Currently she's a minister or she sits in cabinet. So what am I trying to say? Be visible as a lady. Usikue CPAK, usikue economist, usikue that professional you are. Saa zingine hata ukiona uko na maoni ya kutosha, eda hata kwa TV useme hiyo maoni. You'll be shocked that people, there is a time we called one of the ladies who was CEO of KEPSA. He a Kenya private sector. So uko hapa unajaribu kujiuliza nani anaweza pewa kiti kama hii ya trade nini. I was there when we called. She declined because she was engaged in a better job. Why? Yes, she's qualified, but she's visible. Sometimes just elevating yourself from the crowd and just being visible can be more than the PhD you are pursuing, I can guarantee you. Bwana Jage, on education, how to ensure, okay, it was more or less about education. And I think I'll also answer it hapo mwisho, nikiongea story ya manufacturing. Bwana Kanyago, Moses, story ya employment. The reason why people always, when they look for jobs through us. Because I get that a lot, and it should communicate to me as a leader also. I may not have all the jobs to give, but it communicates to me that everywhere I go, somebody is asking me that they want a job. One is because when something is scarce, it becomes very competitive to get it. And then the biggest tragedy that has come into our system is something called patronage. That nowadays you can see a leader starting with a microphone in a school and he's saying, employ those teachers into permanent and pensionable terms tomorrow. What comes to the mind of that other teacher in Turkana who knows no one? And then what is TSC for? See, we disbanded then. So that is, it's emblematic, first of all, of the scarcity of jobs. But more importantly, that a person believes the bridge to that job is this person who holds power. I think even as we thought about patronage, the bigger responsibility we have is to expand the opportunities. So that, ukienda US or UK, for example, you are choosing a job. Do I report to this one or this other one? Because there is abundance. So there is some work to do there, which is also tied up to manufacturing. I am going to finish. Bwana Osomo, thank you very much again for the compliments. Stock market, next year what to do. I think I answered. The issue is, there is no defined path. You know, to do an economic trajectory of anything, you take some period of time to make deductions. In Kenya, it's not expressed that when you have elections, that we have a bear market. It's not expressed. Always hold on to value. Where politically, I am here.
Are you one term or two term?
I am here in the river. As I said again, I don't want to be academic. Look at it this way, guys. So, 3 years ago, if you were asked to describe me, what was coming to your mind first? Hata umesema. Exactly. Very good. You would associate me with the group or the team I am associated with. Is it? Take any person on the other side, you also don't struggle to define them there. That is one thing we have to also know as Kenyans, that it's good we know our leaders first for who they are before they join in with anyone. First understand, if, for example, you have a choir here of ACK Kitengela, and you have another choir of Catholic Church Kitengela, and there is a very good singer there with a bass or alto or whatever. Then when you are asked, yule anaitagwa nani? Unasema ni, si yule ni yule the lady wa... Yes. Ukiulizwa that young man with a bass, utasema, si ni yule mtu wa bass wa... You see what I mean? Yet, that person, they have their own identity. As a person who, they have their own base, they put in into that choir. So I have had that privilege and I'm grateful. It came unplanned. That I have had a chance also to be me. Being you is important. And I wish that all other leaders can be subjected into that. That before they are bowed up into a team, let's first know, are they a striker? Is it a defender? Is it a goalkeeper? Who is that person? The other thing, as I go to the finish, Motoma asked a very good question. And because I've answered most of them in the previous questions, I'll come into where you asked about. Is it about these leaders or about us as Kenyans? There is something around there. What I've seen, nations evolve. To be the nation that we are in as Kenya. Remember when you talk about a country, my brother, what is a country? Country is just boundaries. There's another, when we talk about Kenya as a country, it's just about our boundaries. After that, there is something we call a state. A state is the machinery of government, the machinery of the state structures, where we have now this ministry, this, that. There is also government. There is a republic, but there is a nation. A nation communicates what? A nation communicates identity. When you talk about, when we go to Uhuru Park or Nyoro, when you are having national celebrations, you hear the head of state is called the President of the Republic of. The Republic is self-determination. Self-determination is, we are a republic. Ni sisi tunajilid. That's the republic. When you talk about the nation, and that's why you realize, when you come to government state, the president, the deputy work and the deputy president. Do you ask yourself, when it comes to the nation, the title of the president is the father of the nation. Who is the deputy of the father of the nation? It is the first lady. It's the mother of the nation. Why is that so? Because that is first of all detached from the instruments of. It is now about the people and how the people relate with each other. So what lacks most in Kenya is that we have nations within the nation. That even as we meet in the Nairobi now to talk about the nation of Kenya, we have first of all met in our conclaves as the nation of this tribe, the nation of this tribe, and that way. When you go to, for example, Nigeria is not a nation. Because north and south, this disparity is so huge that it can't pass the test of called a nation. A nation is when you have shared values, homogeneity, either in language or in culture. In Kenya, the reason why we brought about Kiswahili as our national language is again, you see, we never said Kiswahili of the Republic of Kenya. We talk about the national language. National is nation. It was supposed to bring us together, to come for me forgetting my mother tongue and her forgetting her mother tongue. So when we meet in Nairobi, I try to talk to her in my mother tongue, she can't understand. That is what it was supposed to be. Or even if she can understand, this Kiswahili comes first and my mother tongue comes second. That is where our biggest problem is. And that is where politics exploits. Look, for example, in 2024, the nation of Kenya, in terms of the people who came out, was a total nation of Kenya. But when politicians noticed the nation, when it is united, changes can happen, they went back into conclaves. So they called in tribal chiefs, went into a table, shared power, actually did worse the grievances that were there in 2024. Now Kenya is in a worse state than then. That the same office people were to march on that Thursday now has four times budget, and they are telling you, you do what you can do. Tumeugana sisi. Nani wameugana ni nyinyi? Are you getting what I'm saying? So that is a big tragedy that, yes, nations evolve, but I wish we can fast track that evolution. There was Bwana Wilson, When are you running? Yes. When are we run? Anyway, thank you very much, our senior. I have heard you, but politics, what I've learned, before you say something, think about it well, plan well, don't take your supporters for granted. So when you are actually saying something, say it and do it. And when that time is there, we leave everything to the Almighty. Kanyotu, unajua ukiitwa Kanyotu tunakuogopa. But he asked a very, very important, in fact, I actually thought that is the topic I would be invited to talk about. Iran. What do we see in Kenya and what are the opportunities? Let me tell you here today. Iran. What is happening in Iran is more than 200 rallies we can do in Kenya. Politically, what is happening in Iran has a bigger effect than 200 political rallies we can do in Kenya. In Kenya, first of all, you asked, can we actually even deal with the shocks? Let's ask ourselves first, what is it that we need to do, first of all? You heard me last week talking about oil, the whole week, from Monday to Friday. I was going everywhere, I was talking about oil. Because I know these people. Because I know them. And I know when I look at them what they are planning. So I decided, let me show them that Kenyans know that the stock in Kenya did not come now. Because that's what they could have purported. We are now over that now. The second thing is that Kenyans must have a conversation. Let no one in government, and let me say it very clearly here, let no one think they'll come next month, talk about oil and blame everything else except their own policies. In terms of oil, you can only change two things. One is the landing cost. Two is levies and taxes. As a non-oil producing country, there is very little you can do with landing cost. But you have everything you can do about levies and taxes. The price of fuel in Kenya, 50% is levies and taxes. So I want to tell the Ministry of, the Department of Petroleum, EPRA, nyinyi wase wa serikali, ebu kwanza msuspend hizo rallies zote. You come to Nairobi and plan about Kenya and what Kenyans expect next month. Because many times we take Kenyans for granted. You go around in rallies, but the fundamental things, we come to them last minute. Kenya from today, I actually would expect the cabinet would have met to first of all remove the 7 shillings that were put in 2024. That will be the starting point. The second starting point is that a time has now come, the 8% VAT that was introduced by this government, a time has come ile mumechukua imetosha. These are extraordinary times. They require extraordinary measures. Because that is the only thing is in our control. Why? If you come and load in all these costs to Kenyans, you can already see what the government will do. Of course, mafuta itaongezewa bei, fare iongezewe, then they start purporting they want to control fares. That's what they will do. These guys, I know them. They now say they are calling Matatu Owners Association to talk about fares. No, instead of kupaka rangi, let's go to the root. The root of the pump price for a non-oil producing companies in a situation where it is unprecedented and in a situation where it is extraordinary. You also do extraordinary measures. 7 shillings added in 2024. Just know this. The banks that led money to government through securitization, using the 7 shillings, you will have, as a matter of fact, and I can tell you in the next 1.5 months, you'll have done it. You'll have to give a moratorium not to charge Kenya for those loans. And we may actually not pay those loans because they were illegal. Opportunities. How I see it. So oil prices, you can see it's like a seesaw. When you go to trading economics, that's the site I use mostly for data. You see crude oil prices. When you see red, you see Dow Jones red, green. When you see green in terms of oil prices going up, Dow Jones, you see red. It is, in my economy, it is the most predictive, I think, science there can be. That as oil prices climb up, the markets go down. And they don't consult immediately. Right now, Trump will come and say, oh, we are now protecting the Strait of Hormuz. Immediately, you see a red in oil, you see a green in the markets. That talks to us that, yes, we need to do what we must do as a country that has overtaxed its oil, but also as individual people, we try to scavenge. So, as the market in the US becomes unbearable, I think this is a topic I don't want to start it to be long, but let me just say this. As oil go up, inflation will go up internationally. The Federal Reserve, most likely, I don't know whether they met today, they are likely, the very best, they are likely to sustain. They cannot now cut rates now because you have inflation to deal with. That's monetary tightening. That compounds our debt situation. I hope I am communicating to you, my brother. It's very technical. So the shocks will go beyond oil. They'll go to debt, they'll go to forex, etc. But, very lastly, on that issue, my brother talked about dollar. You know, when we come to TV, we have stabilized the dollar. You must have heard those speeches. We got it when it was 160. We have brought it down and stabilized. These are the realities. The dollar to Kenya shillings was 119 to 120 during the day of swearing in. It is now around 128 to 129. So between a dollar to Kenya shillings of 120 and the one of 129, which is stronger? The 2022 one or the current one? Now, you can take your phone after this meeting. Just go to Google and check. How much did the dollar gain or lose in the year 2025? The dollar is the benchmark. The dollar is the global currency. Itself, because of policies, protectionism policies and etc., and a lack of independence that was being seen in terms of Fed, the dollar itself lost 10% in the year 2025. So you can't say the ceiling has gained. It is the dollar that has lost. And if you want to know whether you are right or wrong, now move away from the dollar, come to the euro and pound. The euro was 116 the day of swearing in. It is now 150. It's not my figures, it's figures. The pound was 136. It is now 170. We have stabilized the shilling. And those are the short stories. At the river and industry, Lastly, I concur with you, Thika, Athi River. Even my own father used to live in Kiadutu in Thika. They were going there because, yes, he was a carpenter, but there were more people to tegenezea viti. Nampak, Del Monte, all those other companies. Polisac, here it's cement, steel. The composition of GDP is primary production, secondary, and tertiary. But the most important of all those, which becomes an anchor to all the economies that have grown, is the secondary one, which is manufacturing. Because they bring synergies from primary. Primary means when you talk about cement company, clinker is the primary production. And when you talk about, let's say, Del Monte in Thika, that in Anasi is the primary production. The secondary production is the industry itself. Now, clinker inatoshana na hii chupa, ikigizwa tu kwa hiyo factory, the same huwa inatoka pale na value of multiples of the clinker than 17. So what manufacturing does is first of all to increase productivity. And that is why it should be very primary. Let me not give so much details into it, but just say, maybe we can discuss it on another day. The biggest problem Kenya has when it comes to manufacturing. You know, we can talk. We are bringing companies, we are doing this and that. One thing, it's called power. Power. And don't look at me like that. Me, I'm just a small-time guy over there buying a few shares, which I am not involved in. I'm just talking about the sector. Whether we like it or not, we have to address radically. Forget about distribution. Production. That's where the problem starts. Kenyan has maybe 70% of our market share of power production. But you realize maybe the money that goes to producers, maybe they get less than half. What does that tell you? That the other 30% who are dependent power producers, they get more money, they are paid more money than the one we pay as consumers. Actually, Kenyan subsidizes their power. Why? Because all of them, majority, they are vehicles of patronage. Give me one power producer in Kenya of a person you know. Ati tunaendaga na yeye church. Just tell me one. There is, I can say here, other than President Mwai Kibaki, there is no other leader who is not involved in independent power production in Kenya. It is to that level. And Kenya, tuache tu historia ya kuongeanga tu vitu, not going around the problem. Let's go to where the problem is and aim it there. That you come and sign a PPA. It's called take or pay. Produce power. Whether you take or you don't, you still have to pay me. But that's not the problem. The pricing. So, when this problem starts there, the industry now becomes very expensive. I hope you know Kenya in terms of energy is the most expensive in the region. I also hope you know petrol prices in Kenya are higher than Uganda, yet it passes through Kenya. Thank you for your attention on that matter.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, allow me now to invite questions from our seniors in the following order. First, Billion Ojiwa, followed by IPP Wakaba, followed by PE Kanjori, and then Exco Mudeu, in that order, and then we'll close it there.
My name is Billion Ojiwa. I don't think I have a question, but I was listening because last election I was running in Mathare for the Mathare parliamentary seat under UDA, and I think I'm also shifting some to and nijue kama niko pande gani. Asante sana.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa, for being very candid. I'll also be a bit candid, and I will raise something that may be controversial and contrarian. In January of 2022, my name is James Wakaba. I am a past president of RC Kitengela. In January of 2024, I happened to be in Kiharu for a funeral. I was born in Kiharu. My parents came from Kiharu, so I have relatives, friends at a place called Githagara. At that time, the taxes had started going up tremendously. And in the church, an independent church, I was given an opportunity to speak because I knew the lady as a Mau Mau fighter. And I said, we are going back to the days of the hard tax. And I criticized the MP for Kiharu vehemently by saying he is part of the system that is increasing taxes in this country. And it was a bit harsh at first. Some people clapped, others didn't. The priest said, you are the last person who will talk politics in this church, in this funeral. And when we came out, some of the wazees told me, umefanya vibaya sana ku criticize MP wetu sababu ametufanyia mambo makubwa sana na CDF. And I was like, okay, so at that level, they are happy. But is the nation happy? Are the people happy? And we know what happened after that, the Gen Z protests and all that. So the controversial issue I want to talk about is this CDF and what effect at the macro level it has had on the country. CDF was, it came in 2003 through a person called Muriuki Karue, who I had the opportunity to contest against in Olkalau constituency. But it is not personal, because CDF would not have been there if I had won. And my point is, CDF has done very well. It has done many good things, but it also has done a lot of bad. It has been ruled repeatedly unconstitutional by the courts. And I know you change the act every time you change to a different act. It has made MPs extremely lazy. They have neglected their primary duty of legislation. If you go to South Korea, there are more than 30 laws on artificial intelligence today. Kenya, we have 0 laws. If you go to the US, there are more than 100 laws on finance. Here we have maybe 5 or 10. We have neglected our primary duty because we are able to demonstrate to our constituents that we are doing something by issuing CDF checks. Every 3 months an MP goes home, he issues CDF checks, people clap. That is the work of a clerk in the chief's office. It is not the work of an MP. So because of this neglect, it has also led you to, and I'm not saying you personally, I'm sorry, you've done extremely well on CDF. It has also led you to stop the oversight role because you're almost sure of re-election because you hand out checks. The role of oversight. If there were 100 MPs today talking the way you are talking about this economy, this country would go very far. But because they have money to dish out every weekend in terms of CDF checks, they neglect that duty. So my question to you is, would you as the best performing MP in terms of CDF have the courage to say that this is the wrong way to develop a country, that this should be done by the system, not 1 or 2 brilliant individuals and then the others do nothing? This is a system thing. We should create a system where this development we see in Kiharu happens everywhere by virtue of the executive, either at the national level or at the county level, not by people whose primary role is legislation and oversight. Thank you.
Asante. My name is Dr. Kanchori Daniel. I happen to be a first member of County Assembly for Kitengela when I was 31 years old. Mheshimiwa, I'm the next Senator of Kajiado County. I want to ask a question and also give a challenge. One, and you mentioned it ably, most of the professionals have no business with politics. And this is where we fail our country. We leave politics for the Dicks and Harrys, the people who don't understand what is taxes, what is employment. So my challenge to us as Rotarian and all the professionals, as long as you leave politics to the mama mboga, to the mtu wa pikipiki, at the last day, the politician, after stealing your money, will come and dish it out, and we will just be going round circles and circles until we bury you and another generation comes. My challenge to you, my brother, is I think Parliament has failed us, because Parliament is the representative of the people and is normally the last point of resort. And when the Parliament is compromised, unajua wewe vile ulisikia kuna jamaa alienda akachukua video ni kama anachukua kiti yako, you wanted to run from outside the country to come. If you hear Kenyans are not happy, Kenyans are not frustrated, and you are an elected leader, and you still have the audacity to say whatever you say there without having that empathy, then I think they have lost the soul of the country. That is where the problem is. Finally, in your own point of view, because I think we are in a mess, do we have one bullet solution business, knowing that the is for us to take our voters card, but do a solution to this one? Thank you very much.
Oh my God, I have 10.
You have 10 questions.
The most important.
So Mudeo has 10 questions, but she's choosing the
most important one. You've mentioned manufacturing. Manufacturing, the Indian model, because we take the big companies that come Indian style, where anybody employing 5 or more employees is under government siege. And who is that 5-person employer? It is that person who sets up a car lodging. They have 2 cleaners, they have a car front office, and they have a car accountant. That person is under siege by KRA today. What, as a legislator, can you do about scaling up SMEs? Because it is that SME that is the real employer in this country. Today, the majority of people are employed in an SME. Asante.
Thank you very much, and apologies not to forget our online audience. So I'll just read one question from the online audience, and then Mheshimiwa will be able to take it from there. From Stella Mwandembe, why is he speaking so passionately of this moment, and yet he was one of the MPs who voted yes in the 2024 bill and claimed so many lives, that claimed the lives of so many young people and Kenyans in general. What triggered him to stop supporting William Samoei Ruto, or is this a ploy? Lastly, on KPC matter, I am curious to know how the other pipelines in the world are valued. I think he'll take those, and then from there we'll continue the other Rotary protocols.
Brian. Oh, Brian, yeah. I know you actually. Thank you very much, my brother. And I wish you all the best in Mathare. We'll talk about that. His question was very direct, that he was vying with that party, which we were, but he also made it clear he has also gone. So he's asking, where do we go? Then I'm telling him, we are going to consult. Bwana James Wakaba, I can't agree more. However, as a practical politician, I mean one who is serving now, CDF has its place. And especially when there is low level of trust in the bigger system. You know, this is the bad thing with Kenya. When you talk about CDF is actually, you'll be shocked. It's in a budget of 4-point-something trillion, CDF is less than 2% of that. Yet when you go to Githagara, you are likely to see some CDF projects, and you wonder, where is this other one, 4.2-something trillion gone? Because when there is no level of trust in the bigger sphere, then the concretes become more effective. The smaller devolved functions. So that's the major point, I think. However, this is something I've been actually voicing. CDF, on the other side, has also made the quality of leadership to be decimated. Because you don't need to do much. You just pile up your bursary to give it during the election week. And then, without forgetting that, even the person who is coming will also give that bursary. You know, there is a way bursary has been personalized, and we have sold, some have sold fear to the population and the electorate that if I'm gone, bursary is gone. That is also something I struggle with when I'm thinking. Because I agree with you, a taxonomy is an area. A constituency is a taxonomy, a unit of measurement, or a county. There is no way you can grow a taxonomy without the involvement of the macro. There's no way you go to China and here, Shenzhen grew, but China is not growing. It has never been such a story. So I agree the overarching agitation and the overarching policies are actually much more important than what we do in the micro level. Look at it this way. Even if we run our Kiharo Masomo Bora, school fees is 500. I was in a place Thursday and Friday and Monday. I went to a school in Kiharu. 2 is a day school. One had, I think, over 20 or so learners from outside. Some from Kilifi, Isiolo, who have come to live with relatives to school there. The next one I went, out of their 35 students in grade 10, 12 are not from Muranga. But you see now, that is transferring, is not solving. When a child transfers to Nairobi to come to live with a relative, yes, I have provided a solution to that micro agent of the economy. But much more needs to be done in the macro sense. Because that child needs not shift. They need to school at their place because education should be quality and accessible. Aya. Dr. Kanchori, thank you very much. I also wish you all the best. Yes, professionals, you know. Hey, me staki kelele ya siasa. You hear Obama was asked, when Obama said he's joining politics, somebody asked Obama, you look like a nice guy. What are you saying? Yani anaambia mtu naingia siasa, mtu anakuangalia, but you look like a nice guy. What is that saying about those people who are there? So, but if all of us, let's say today, and I'm being politely honest, anyone who would seek to be a leader today in Kenya, let me use my brother Kanchori. You want to be senator here, but you're living your life comfortably, is it? You have the best car you are driving. You are comfortable. Now, if all comfortable people become comfortable, who will solve these problems that we are talking about? Who then? So I agree with your challenge. Let's get out of our comfort zones. And it's not just about leading. It's also about voice. You know, nowadays, when I talked about this issue of Turkana oil, because I know Turkana oil is not Kenyan oil, it's an individual's oil. And I talked about it. And I got some people telling me, hey, I got some people concerned, and I was wondering, yani Kenya tumefika hapo, ati unaongea mambo ya nchi, and people are fearing for you. Sisi wote tukinunua uoga, nchi itaenda wapi? You know, that's the issue. So we just have, even if you are not vying like Kanchori, and you are a secretary of a church, ukisoma matagazo Sunday, sema mawili matatu elimisha wengine wako hapo. It is our civic responsibility to talk about the things that are happening. Bring up what is inside. If you are happy, yes, say to that place, you know, mnajua kazi iko sawa huku na based on the response of the people, you'll know whether it is only you who is happy or it is everyone. But let's take it as our civic responsibility. In whichever area, in our offices. Now you know about securitization. And hiyo jina imeitwa hivyo for that reason. Because it's complex. You know, securitization means borrowing. Why not use the name borrowing? It's easier. It's used so that even before we malize kusema, mtu ameanza kuyon. But we have to do it. Haya. Madam Mudeu. Manufacturing. Idia. SME. I agree. SMEs must be supported. But India, South Korea, they run on the same model. SMEs actually become the feeder companies of the bigger manufacturing companies. There is no manufacturing anywhere in the world that thrives without big companies. Why? Manufacturing is not done for the local market. It is done for the global market. And global market, you are competing. And one way of competing is scalability. So scalability can only happen in a big company. So that's why you realize even in India, there is Mahindra, there is Tata, and there is Reliance Industries. There are all those. But there is a base of SMEs who are suppliers of those. So all that has to go in tandem. When you go to South Korea, you talk about Samsung, Hyundai, HK, and the rest. But beneath them, now those ones are launched by the company to be the representatives of the company. Representatives means now Samsung will come in the market and they are fighting around with the iPhone, with Huawei, because they have the muscle. You come elbow them. Now, that cannot be left undone. Because it is now on the basis of Samsung that thousands of SMEs thrive. So those policies must go hand in hand. However, I agree, government machinery must always exist to make the economy thrive, including tax collection. Because once these premises crosses, even the little you are getting goes. Stella, online. And I think I had handled that question before. We were in a situation where, when you are in a team, you have to argue your points within the team before you come to become a person with a divergent view. And do you ask yourself many times, let me just put it this way, am I there now? No, I'm asking you guys, am I there now? Do you think, no, I'm saying about that caucus that was there, that grouping. No. Yes. Did you hear me besmirch anyone, even in the living? I think I've communicated. Yeah. Mwenye anashika ashike. Lastly, because I don't want to, I hope I'm not coming back here again. Lastly, because naona watu wamekaa sana. Niruhusu 1 minute, because I hope you are finishing. Many times we come to such meetings. We talk. Do you know, guys, I've been talking for 2 hours? Which I enjoy because I am your servant and I also learn when I come. But many times I ask myself, if I come here and I don't learn anything, and I don't get provoked to become better, why? I haven't gained, you have not gained. Was there a need for this meeting if that was the case? So I've gone to many places I talk about investments. And I hope the person I'm about to call, yeah, I have seen she's here. So you call, shares are good, I shout. Like one talk I did in Nyeri last year. That time the shares I was mentioning were half price of what they are today. The one that was in Sitam with a banner of Kingdom Bank up on Yuma. Many of you watched. And I got many, very nice talk. Oh my way, very nice, very nice, very nice, very nice. We read books. The most motivating books I've read for a long time. But do those talks and books change you? After we leave here, let's say it was an investment talk. Today was more macro and economic. But you have listened even to the videos of the investment-wise. Beyond the excitement, do we do anything? A very small proportion. So when you hear something good, my challenge is, for you not doing it, you are forfeiting value. And I want to call Jerry here to wind up in 1 minute. Or kuja tu hata watu waone you are very smart. And I just want Jerry to tell you, because she's one of the people I saw. We met somewhere for the first time. She'll tell you when. How we met after the function somewhere. Unaona after the function, venye watu wanakunywa chai pale tukaenda. But because I don't want to preempt, and I want her to take the few minutes, say something. Otherwise, thank you very much and God bless you.
Good evening, Rotarians, guests, and also our online fraternity. My name is Caroline. I met Mheshimiwa last year in November. Before that, I was a follower of him. And I think the first time I got provoked during that meeting that he mentioned, that was in Nyeri. Where we come from, which is Nyeri, we are told by our parents that you must own a piece of land. And I think he provoked my ego and actually what my parents had taught us about investments. And when we met in Mombasa in November, basically I was a speculator. And that is how I approached investments in the stock market. I opened my CDS account, I think I shared with him, in 2007. I participated in the Safaricom IPO. I could buy and sell shares. And what he has mentioned today, he mentioned it that time, where he taught us about PE ratio. Yes, ISPAC annual seminar. And I took that lesson very, very seriously. And I started buying shares, not because the price is, because of the price at that moment, but because of value. He mentioned about DTB. It was trading at 110 shillings at that time. I looked at the fundamentals of the company because he taught us about how to value it. And I can say that in less than 3 months, the company has gone all the way to 163 shillings. If I was not quick, I should have lost an opportunity at that point. In fact, I was waiting for Monday. Our meeting was on Thursday evening. I was waiting for Monday to utilize my per diem and purchase the DTB shares. Sija regret. I also bought Kenya Power at that time. It was trading around 12 shillings or thereabout. Currently, it's trading at 17 shillings. I am not regretting. My journey to wealth creation, my journey to retiring rich, a step at a time, every day, every time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us give him one more hearty clap. So we will wind up this by calling Exco Mudeu to give a vote of thanks. Thereafter, we'll have a SA moment led by